I'd like to say good evening and welcome to Nana's Backyard Mecca, where, oh my goodness, back in March we built 6 raised beds. As you can see, this one is a 4x8, had a couple of 4x4s, a 2x4, and as I go through, I'll show you each box that we did. While it may have been intended for one person, you'll be able to see one purpose. You'll be able to see that the garden bed had a mind of its own. We did a compost back in the fall, late summer, early fall, that we did over the winter months and everything, and to use to fill the beds with. And in that compost, we put all our kitchen scraps, veggies, fruit. However, in that compost, with us being new gardeners, raised box gardeners or raised bed gardeners, we put everything in there, seeds and all. So you'll see in some of the boxes where some things came up, such as tomatoes, in boxes that they weren't intended to grow, as in this case right here. This box was intended to be collards and mustard greens with onions and celery and carrots. You see carrots coming there. And there's a long-standing tomato bush that just came up from the compost. We did have some spearmint in here, but I had to dig it out because it was taking over. And as you can see, it did open up room for the mustards and the collards to just take off. So I'm happy with that. In this box is the zucchini and squash box. You'll see where there were some uh-ohs after the fact, because this box was zucchini, and on the 4 corners was supposed to be tomatoes. This is a 4x4 box, and as you can see, the zucchini and squash has taken over, and I've already had to pull out some squash plants that were kind of taken under by the zucchini, but they're flourishing and doing well, and I know next time how to do the squash and zucchini. As you can see in this box, another box that was intended solely for beets and cabbage and marigolds, also with the dill here and over here. Another herb there, then the cabbage. Well, as you can see, tomatoes came in on their own and just kind of did their own thing here. I'm not sad. I'm liking it because it is producing and it's doing quite well. They're very healthy, and I'm just amazed as to the process and how far they've come in such a short period of time. We went on vacation for a couple of days, about 4 days, and we had a storm here in Texas. And when I came back, it was like, wow. I haven't determined yet if these are indeterminates or just a good quality raised box soil that was included in the box. This bed, as you can see, the tomatoes kind of just taken over. It's 4x4. These tomatoes were not planted directly. These came up on their own. And as you can see, we're doing very well. Coming up good. We got some good crop going here. Can't wait for harvest. I have become the stake down queen on these tomato bushes. And needless to say, I'm still very happy. This box was supposed to have been okra and bell peppers because I tried to do companion gardening. But as you can see, it turned into an okra and tomato box. Here, let me come around here. You can see where the tomatoes are really coming in. I have yet to determine what type of tomatoes these are, but I'm thinking that they're the small vine red tomatoes because I love those. We did use a lot of those uh, in cooking and in our salads. And that's what I'm thinking is that these are going to be. Not quite the big beefsteak, which I initially planted, but I don't know where they went to. Here's the okra. I had to redo the okra a couple of times, but as you can see, they're coming in good. I have harvested 3 mega size okra that we put into to do pickled okras because it's so early for them. Here's the other box with the cabbage. This is my first time ever trying to grow cabbage, and as you can see, I didn't quite move them over or space them out in enough time. There's some sage there, of course the marigolds, some dill coming up there that's starting to go to seed, rosemary here, and as you can see, I've had some friends come through after the storm, kind of did their little thing here, but I've captured a couple of them and kind of gave the birds a treat today. But overall, it's turned out to be a very healthy bed. All of the beds have turned out to be very healthy, and I'm glad of that. Appears to be some potatoes growing in here that was not planted. As you can see, the basil down there that's flourishing well. There's also some cilantro in this box. The storm kind of broke a couple of them, but I'll fix them up and they'll come back strong. I know they will. And this box is a 4 by 8 foot box, which was initially for a watermelon box. But I saw where it would take time I had a lot of time before it was time to plant the watermelon. So I planted some beans and some pole beans, which didn't turn out quite well. I don't know if it could be the location of them, but the sweet peas are doing very well. And I've harvested a couple of times off of them, and they're still coming back strong in here with the watermelon. As you can see, the watermelon is probably getting ready to take over this box, which is okay because I have harvested and done well with the peas from this box, and it was initially a watermelon box. But as you see, after the rain, the little worms and everything kind of had a feast before I could get out and do something to kind of take care of that. And last but not least, in this box, we have cucumbers. Cucumbers were the last things that I planted here. It was a last minute decision to do cucumbers and trying to find the right place for them. And lo and behold, they have just taken off. And like I say, you'll see a lot of uh-ohs, kind of like after the fact, some things with staking. We found this rail here, a fence rail at the back of the yard, and it's like we have to do something. We have to give them something to climb up on. So it's working out good. They've overgrown the bamboo sticks, so I'm hoping that everything will still work out with them. The bees come and do the pollinating and seem to enjoy that. Some other herbs here. This is another tomato plant that came up on its own, and it is just flourishing very, very well. So proud of that. Some more herbs. There's a baby carrot there. Cucumber coming in. So I was excited to see that when we got back into town. Also, for the sake of extra space, I did plant some broccoli. This is my first time again ever planting broccoli. And as you can see, the little worms had a field day while we were away. There's also some herbs in here. There was some spearmint over in here. I did have to thin it out because it was trying to take over this box as well. And as you can see, the watermelon, again, some kind of things going on here. I trained the watermelon vines to go over the box, over the top of the box and down. And as you can see, they're doing very, 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 very well. So I'm happy with that. Needless to say, I'm very, very happy with that. come around so you can see the full effect of this box, how it looks. Planted some, put some flags up for the birds because they were doing their thing as well early on in the planting stage. I've attempted some spinach here. I started a little late with that, but I went ahead and kept them in and planted them anyway, and along with some more marigolds. 99.5% of the plants in my garden were direct seed. Only about a few of them were store-bought. Most of the herbs were store-bought and the broccoli, but everything else that you see has been from direct seed. My husband added some more boxes for me later on because we wanted to do some more watermelon, and as you can see, it is flourishing. I asked him to make it lower to the ground. This is only 12 inches high, so 4 by 4, 12 inches, and the watermelon are just going crazy. I did find some little babies that are already coming in, and so very excited about that. Here's another more recent box that we made, and did some cherry tomatoes from the kitchen, kept the seeds, and I did 3 plants here, and as you can see, they look like 20, but they're flourishing very well. I was kind of confused one day because something else was coming up in one of the boxes that I thought was a type of tomato, and I had to dig one out. As it turned out, it was a potato vine or plant, which I did not plant. And as you can see, they're doing very well as well. This is a 4 by 4 box. I did bring some marigolds and some cilantro, and I believe, cilantro, and there may be some another herb in that box as well. As you can see, we ran across some tree stumps that had been hulled out, and it's like, I gotta have them. And here I started a new squash because the zucchini had taken over the other bed, and then some baby watermelons here. Just wanted to see how well they'll do and what they will do there. And in this box is another type of watermelon. I want to show you the sugar babies. This box has like American Sweet and then some seeds that didn't have a name on a watermelon from the store bought. There were some onions over in here, and as you can see, the watermelon had taken over. There's 6 sugar baby watermelons coming up here, and then another type of watermelon, and everything is going great. I did have a little fungus going on one of the plants, and I used the baking soda and water and sprayed them down, and my God, it really made a difference. They're so vibrant in their green and color, and are really flourishing and doing well. This bed is another 4 by 4 bed. Has watermelon on one end, cantaloupe on the other. I've never grown cantaloupe before, but as you can see, doing very, very well. Here was the rainbow carrot. I call it rainbow, but the multicolored carrots. Still learning about the carrots. I'm hoping that by this time in a couple of weeks they'll be coming along as well. And there was some celery in the box, but celery just didn't do too well. I love zinnias, so we have a little welcome to the garden, a little zinnia box, a little box that I found on the street. Brought it in, cut it down, painted it up. This was another plant that grew up on its own in one of the other initial raised beds, and couldn't figure out what the heck it was. Well, as it turned out, it was butternut squash. Some friends had given us some, and it's like, I don't know what to do with butternut squash, and I don't know if it's the season, could be not be the right season for it, but they came along. I thinned them out, and so there is some growth, there is some fruit. It's just been at that size for a while. Bell peppers, I did some container planting. Bell peppers here in this container. There's the mint that I pulled out. Found some seeds that I messed up, and so I just put them in one of the growing containers, and you can see what happened with the storm that was just here. You see, I love zinnias. Try to attract butterflies and bees, stuff like that. This is a blackberry, which has just taken off and is doing great. I did catch a bird earlier today, trying to confiscate some of the darker berries that have started to grow. And it's also in a container. Jalapeno peppers here in another container, and they've just taken off and are doing great. This is a hot pepper plant here. And the peppers are just everywhere, as you can see. More zinnias here, and the butterflies just love it. Strawberries here, and they're flourishing well. I've tried to make my own rosemary oil, as well as peppermint oil there. Just a celery from the table. It's coming along well. My first time ever doing potatoes in a bucket, and as you can see, they're doing well. There's 2 types of potatoes here in each of these containers here. Some more collard greens in each of these planters here, which I will probably transplant into a larger container. But this is Nana's backyard mecca, garden mecca. Over here you can see a watermelon seed that got kind of dropped, I believe, and it's doing okay. I'm still learning about nasturtium. They did come out pretty there at one point, and then they just kind of went away. Excuse me for the odds, but I'm just kind of nervous as I'm doing this. Some more zinnias. And under here, I was trying something when they talk about live ground cover or live mulch. I planted some potatoes that had started budding out, and they're coming up okay. So we'll see what happens there. Just something that I'm trying as a test to see how well they do. Over here is my first fig tree. I love figs. I was dying for a fig, and a friend of mine gave me one, planted it, potted it. I have yet to decide if I'm going to do it as a tree or leave it in the pot. So that's Nana's backyard mecca. Some potatoes here, sweet potatoes. Mostly planted these for the vine, but we'll see how well they do. Some mint along the fence line. I hope to grow mint along the fence line here and keep it going. My husband made this table for me for my plants. I love gardening. I love all kinds of plants, as you can see. Most recent harvest were these zucchinis. As you can see, they're a little over a foot long and pretty wide. And the poor squash there is like no match to those zucchinis. But I mean, that was exciting to see that happening. But this is my garden mecca, and I love coming out here, and it's so refreshing to see things grow and to be able to go from garden to table. We've harvested 5 times from the greens, the mustard and collards bed, and as you can see, they just keep coming and coming and coming. I have to do something with the carrots here, and I'm trying to figure that out. And back over here, the beets are just going wild, and I just love it. I thought I was going to have some problems with the beets, but they're coming on really, really well. And welcome to my garden. Welcome to my haven. And I thank you. Bye-bye.